After the horrors of Nazi Holocaust, the world said never again. The Jewish people said never again. Survivors said never again. But do you believe it? Many Israelis are now believing another Holocaust could happen in their lifetime.
Well, today marked Holocaust Remembrance Day in Israel, and Jews are worried about the rising international tide of anti-Semitism. Julie Stahl has that story from Jerusalem.
Less than 70 years ago, a veil of secrecy fell, revealing the shocking horrors of the Holocaust. The images seared our minds, and the world vowed never again.
If you live in a world in which the leader, both religious and political, openly speak about destroying the state of Israel, I think there's a good reason to fear another Holocaust.
With that thought, Israelis paused for 2 minutes to honor the memory of the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust. A recent opinion poll here found some 40% of Israelis believe the Holocaust could happen again, and 43% are concerned Israel could be destroyed. Nazi hunter Dr. Ephraim Zuroff blames the rise of both traditional and new forms of anti-Semitism.
Incidents, efforts to delegitimize Israel, unfair criticism of Israel, attacks on Jews, and this is something that is very widespread.
Frightening examples include this recent scene in France where a Taliban-trained terrorist gunned down a teacher, 2 of his children, and an 8-year-old girl at a Jewish school. And in Hungary, a parliamentarian recalled a 130-year-old case. That's where Jews were accused and then acquitted of murdering a Christian girl to use her blood in the Passover holiday. Experts say anti-Semitism is also changing.
One of the most important and most dangerous transformations has been to change the focus of the hate from the individual Jew or the Jewish community, local Jewish community, to the state of Israel.
If you sit together in an evening dinner with some friends in Europe or United States or Northern America, it's much more politically correct to say bloody Israelis, but you mean the bloody Jews.
Anti-Semitism expert Dr. Rafael Vago is the son of Holocaust survivors.
They are transferring the traditional hatred towards the Jews in trying to destabilize or to delegitimize, rather, the state of Israel today.
Even worse is its presence in the political arena. During a Remembrance Day ceremony, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the Iranian regime was working openly to destroy the people of Israel. Zuroff says the West needs to stand up and prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb because its leaders won't stop with Israel.
The Jews are always the first victims, but never the last victims. So in other words, by fighting against anti-Semitism, you're not only helping the Jewish people, you're helping yourselves.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Julie. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot understand anti-Semitism. I was in Romania some years ago after the fall of communism and realized that there were just a handful of Jews left in Romania and that there was virulent anti-Semitism present among those I was talking to. It was just simply astounding. I couldn't believe it, but it was there. Well, why? There is a devil. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a God and there is a devil. And the devil hates Israel. Why? Because Israel is the evidence of the existence of God. And his laws were transmitted through Israel, and the Messiah of the world came through Israel. And the devil wants to destroy Israel because he thinks that if he can destroy the Jews, he somehow will wipe out the consciousness that people have of the existence of God and of the flow of the messianic promises all the way from the book of Genesis all the way through Moses and down through the prophets and down to Jesus. It's all there, but the poor Jews don't understand that it's too cosmic for most of them to grasp, especially since they don't believe Jesus is the Messiah. But that's the root of the problem. And there's a hatred that springs from Satan himself, and it's pervasive, and we need to do everything we can to stand against it because it's found in the ultimate evil. Well, Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee.
Pat, the House of Representatives has passed a highway bill, including a measure that requires the building of the Keystone XL pipeline. President Obama has threatened to veto such a measure. But 69 Democrats voted along with the Republican majority in favor of the bill. The vote is likely to keep the pipeline issue alive until this November's election. Members from the House and Senate will soon meet to discuss details of the bill. Prison Fellowship founder Chuck Colson's health has taken a turn for the worse. We're now told that he is in grave condition. Colson became ill during a speaking engagement 2 weeks ago. Doctors operated and removed a blood clot from his brain. Colson worked in President Richard Nixon's administration and went to prison for his involvement in the Watergate scandal. He had a radical Christian conversion, though, and founded Prison Fellowship Ministries. The current head of the ministry said Colson's condition began deteriorating Tuesday after some signs of recovery, and, quote, he will soon be home with the Lord. This saddens us all, Pat.
Well, it does. He's a dear friend. He's hosted this program in my absence some years ago, and told me that after 1 week of doing it, he was physically exhausted. So that it's, in any event, he is a brilliant thinker, one of the great political strategists of all time. And the thing is, they didn't have anything against him, but he just decided that, look, I'll plead guilty to some minor offense, do a prison term, and get it over with. And he's a hero to all of us. So our prayers are with him and his wife, and our love goes out to him. But from what they say at Prison Fellowship, it'll just be a matter of a short time before he's with the Lord. Lee.
Pat Boone says he looks forward to seeing his old friend Dick Clark in heaven someday. Boone says he was stunned to hear that Clark had died of a heart attack at the age of 82. Boone and Clark appeared together on the first national broadcast of American Bandstand on ABC more than 50 years ago. Boone says he gave some books about his spiritual journey to Dick Clark, and that Clark responded that he appreciated and identified with him. For that reason, Boone says, quote, I expect to see him again, and we'll enjoy some heavenly music together. Living an active lifestyle may lower your risk of Alzheimer's disease. Researchers at Rush University in Chicago have found that any kind of physical activity, not just exercise, reduces the risk of developing the disease. That includes everything from washing dishes to gardening. Even playing cards can be considered physical activity. Researchers say an active lifestyle can even lower the risk of Alzheimer's in people over the age of 80. They point out that exercise is important, but for those who cannot get exercise, other kinds of physical activity can help. I guess I better start helping out with the dishes at night, Pat.
Absolutely. It'll keep your mind clear. I hope riding horses counts, because somebody told me it was the horse that won't get Alzheimer's. I don't worry about my horse having dementia. It's me. So
I'm sort of on board with Lee, and I'm sure his wife is as well. Head for the kitchen, gentlemen.
And that's what you do to keep your mind clear. Well, I take, among other things, phosphatidylserine complex, and I recommend it thoroughly.
Say that fast 3 times.
Phosphatidylserine complex.
What does that do?
It makes blood flow up to your brain. It keeps your memory sharp, and keeps you here on the 700 Club when you're 82.
Well, I'll get you to spell that for me later. I'm going out for something this afternoon.
Phosphatidylserine. Just tell the guy at the health food store, and he'll know.
I want that stuff Pat gets.
I want that stuff, Pat, that keeps his mind sharp.
An appeals court has upheld Arizona's voter ID law. That measure requires voters to show identification before they can cast a ballot. Critics argue, though, that the law hurts Latino voters, but the circuit court ruled that there's no proof that it gives Latinos fewer opportunities to vote. But the court did rule that Arizona cannot require voters to show proof of citizenship. Arizona's Attorney General believes the issue will end up before the U.S. Supreme Court. The executive director of Voice of the Martyrs has died. Tom White led the ministry that helps support the persecuted church for more than 20 years. Ministry leaders issued a statement saying, all of our hearts are heavy at this loss, and most of all heavy for Ophelia, Tom's loyal helpmate through years of ministry. Before joining Voice of the Martyrs, White made flights over Cuba to drop gospel tracts. He was captured and jailed in 1979 after his plane crashed in Cuba. He was released in 1980 after many prayers and appeals for his release. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.